Absolutely heartbreaking news has emerged from the world of professional football news. That has cast a shadow over what was supposed to be the most joyous and transformative moment in a young athlete's life. Derrick Harmon, the promising first round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers and a standout defensive star from Oregon, is mourning the devastating loss of his beloved mother, Tiffany Sane. Her passing came mere hours after Derrick had visited her in the hospital to share the life-changing news that he had been selected 21st overall in the NFL draft. For most athletes, draft night is a once-in-a-lifetime experience filled with celebration, excitement, and a sense of achievement that few will ever truly understand. The cameras, the flashing lights, the emotional hugs from family members, and the beaming smiles as they put on that team cap for the first time, these are the moments players and their loved ones dream of. But for Derrick Harmon, that night was not just about fulfilling a lifelong dream. It was a deeply emotional, bittersweet moment, woven with sorrow, reflection, and the uncheckable bond between a son and the woman who had endured more pain than most could imagine, yet still stood. Strong as his pillar of strength. Tiffany Sane wasn't just Derrick's mother. She was his everything. She was his motivation, his reason for pushing harder, his definition of courage, and his guiding light during the darkest of times. When Derrick was just a freshman at Michigan State, a moment that should have marked the beginning of a new chapter. For him, both athletically and academically, life threw an unimaginable curveball his way. Tiffany suffered a severe stroke that left the entire left side of her body paralyzed. Suddenly, the woman who had raised him cheered for him at every game and sacrificed endlessly to support his ambitions, could no longer walk, drive, or move without assistance. For most teenagers, this would have been emotionally shattering, but for Derrick, it became a call to action. Despite the emotional burden, Derrick refused to let that tragedy derail his goals. Instead, he carried his mother's strength with him into every practice, every game, and every classroom. He recalled, in interviews leading up to the draft, how she had undergone not one or two, but nearly 8 brain surgeries throughout his childhood. 8 surgeries. That's 8 times a child is forced to confront the possibility of losing his mother. 8 times he sat in waiting rooms praying for her life. 8 times he had to be stronger than any child should ever have to be. And through all those moments, Tiffany, though battered and broken by her condition, remained resilient, always managing a smile for her son, always reassuring him that she would be okay, that he should keep going, keep striving, and keep fighting. For his dream. This kind of love and sacrifice created a bond between them that ran deeper than words could express. While other kids spent their teenage years focused on school dances, video games, and summer breaks, Derrick learned about real life. He learned how to carry burdens with grace. He learned how to stay focused when life tested him beyond reason. He learned how to be a man far earlier than most. And most importantly, he learned the value of loyalty, gratitude, and unconditional love. By the time he transferred from Michigan State to the University of Oregon, his reputation as a hardworking and humble player had already started to spread. Coaches saw in him a quiet leadership, a steadiness that made him dependable, and a passion that seemed fueled by something far deeper than just the love of the game. That fuel was his mother. Every weight he lifted, every sprint he ran, every tackle he made, it was all done with her in mind. He wasn't just playing for himself. He was playing for her. And so when Derrick finally made it to the point every young football player dreams of hearing his name called in the first round of the NFL draft, he knew exactly where he needed to go the moment the cameras were turned off. Yes, there were interviews to do, media appearances lined up, and celebrations, waiting with agents and coaches. But none of that mattered to him. The moment the press conference wrapped, he raced to the hospital, still wearing the team cap of his new home. The Pittsburgh Steelers, his heart full of hope that he could share this crowning achievement with. The woman who made it all possible. What unfolded next is the kind of tragedy that makes even the strongest hearts ache. After rushing to her hospital bedside, holding her hand, and whispering the words she had waited her entire life to hear, that her son was going to the NFL, Tiffany Sane passed away. The joy of her son's triumph and the pain of her passing were bound together in a moment so emotionally complex that it's hard to imagine how Derrick could even begin to process it. It's difficult to articulate the depth of what this loss must feel like for him. To climb to the top of the mountain only to find that the person you wanted to share it with the most is no longer there. It's a grief that's impossible to measure. Yet within this grief is a profound, beautiful truth. His mother lived long, enough to see her son fulfill the promise he had made to her as a boy. She may not have been able to stand on her own 2 feet and jump for joy, but her heart must have soared in those final moments, knowing her sacrifices, her strength, and her unwavering love had led her son exactly where he was meant to be. Throughout his journey, Derrick never lost sight of the woman behind his strength. As soon as he began earning money from his NIL deals in college, something many young athletes spend lavishly on themselves, he made a very different decision. He used that money to buy his mother a wheelchair-accessible van. It wasn't about flashy purchases or ego-driven spending. It was about dignity. It was about gratitude. It was about making her life just a little easier after all she had endured. For him, that van was a symbol of how much she meant to him and how deeply he understood everything she had done for him, both seen and unseen. The Pittsburgh Steelers organization, known for its tight-knit culture and respect for character, immediately extended their condolences to Harmon and his family. Coaches, teammates, fans, and even rivals across the league paused to reflect on the loss and send their thoughts. This wasn't just another football story. This was a human story. A story of perseverance, a story of heartbreak, a story of a young man's love for his mother and the cruel timing of fate. In the days following Tiffany's passing, tributes have poured in from every corner of the sports world. Former coaches spoke about the powerful example Derrick set, not just as a player, but as a son. Former teammates shared how often he talked about his mom and how everything he did was rooted in honoring her strength. Fans, many of whom had never met Tiffany or Derrick, were moved to tears, sending messages of support on social media and sharing their own stories of parental love and loss. Derrick has remained relatively quiet since that night, understandably. So, grief doesn't follow a script, and no one can truly prepare for losing their mother, especially not in such a heart-wrenching moment. But those who know him well say that if there's one thing Tiffany taught him, it was how to be strong in the face of unimaginable pain. She taught him how to endure. She taught him how to rise. He will in the weeks ahead. Harmon will begin his NFL journey under the bright lights of Pittsburgh. He will put on the black and gold uniform, stand tall on the field, and carry not only the hopes of a franchise, but the spirit of his mother in every step he takes. Every time he suits up, she will be with him. Every tackle, every sack, every hard-fought victory, he will do it all in her name. Football is a game of inches, of grit, of mental toughness. But behind the helmets and the stats are human beings, each carrying their own battles. Derrick's story is a reminder that behind every draft pick is a personal journey marked by sacrifice, family, and often silent pain. It's easy to cheer for the player, but when you understand the person, the support becomes something far deeper. In honoring his mother's legacy, Derrick Harmon has already proven that he is much more than an athlete. He is a son who loved fiercely, gave selflessly, and never forgot where he came from. He may be a rookie in the NFL, but in life, he's already a champion. And though Tiffany Sane may not be here to see her son's first game, her presence will never leave him. In every cheer from the crowd, in every pregame prayer, in every late-night reflection after a win or a loss, she will be there, watching, guiding, loving Dot in the game of life. Their story is one that will be remembered not just for its sadness, but for its strength, for its love, for its truth. Derrick Harmon isn't just playing for the Steelers. He's playing for his mom,